Hey, Miss Long, how's it going? Going better when it popped in line, so. Let me see them. I got my phone. I'm short. My mother's lovely. The woman that does my noses, I hope that higher in the body aspect. You hear what you hear. No. My brother I've been walking at 6 months. He told me I couldn't walk, but that was the bad thing. My grandfather had going up and down the stairs at 9 months. My brother had like an extra part of it. My mother said she never was raising us today. We couldn't she had to lock my brother's window and lock on the door. Because when you get out, you really can't. I mean, you have to pull out the doors, make yourself breakfast, before you make a nap, but. You put yourself on that butt, you can look on the face. How long are you cold? Well, 30. You possibly take your sometimes not every day. You know, my brother and I got to see more. We made a couple of bars in our lives. You know, we talked about my brother and I fought and have to stay on the arms down. I'm scared of each other. We talk, we giggle. You got all the ways to get through. Well, try to keep the attention on myself. I mean, the first book we read was The Hobbit, was, you know, yes, he does. Smart. I can't probably now.
Good afternoon. Can we please silence cell phones? I'd like to welcome you all to the city of Creedmoor Board of Commissioners meeting for May 19th. We have our invocation by Commissioner Kaczynski.
Thank you. Please join me. Dear Lord, thank you for this beautiful day, wonderful day. Thank you for keeping us all safe today and bringing us here tonight so that we can do the business of the city of Creedmoor and help our citizens every way we can. That is what we took an oath to do, and that's why we're here. God bless every one of them, get them home safely, and be with us always. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, at this time, I give the floor to Commissioner Moss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like,
Just a roll call. Go ahead. He's gonna, go ahead.
before we do the roll call vote,
Yeah.
if I could, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we do an excused absence for Commissioner Robert Way due to unforeseen circumstances.
All right. It's been a motion that we excuse Commissioner Way due to unforeseen circumstances. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 4-0. All right, roll call.
Perfect.
Madam
Thank
Clerk?
you. Commissioner Gleason.
Here.
Commissioner Moss.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilkins. Thank you. Commissioner Kaczynski. And Mayor Downey.
Here.
Thank you.
Well, now we have approval of agenda.
Move the agenda be approved as written, sir.
All right, this motion that the agenda be approved as written. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. All right, discussion items. 5A, designation of a spokesperson to represent the city of Creedmoor. City Manager?
Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners, at the April 21st board meeting, the board voted 5-0 to revoke Mayor Antoine Downey's authority to speak on behalf of the board as a representative of the city at public functions as defined in Resolution 2026-R09, a resolution revoking delegation of certain authority to the mayor. Until further board action is taken to modify or change that decision, the board is asked to appoint designate another member of the board to assume that authority. Following an appointment by the board, the city manager or clerk to the board will identify and relay opportunities for public engagement to the new designated person as they arise or as they are requested.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion. I thought we had already put this issue to bed, but apparently not. I'd like to make a motion that we designate Mayor Pro Tem Archer Wilkins to be our designated spokesman, and I'm doing that in light of, that is the order of how our offices are set up, and that just seems to be appropriate, sir.
Any discussion? Commissioner Gleason?
I'd like to see if the Commissioner Moss would amend his motion to make the mayor pro tem the person representing the city, and that Commissioner Moss be a delegate if during the day where the mayor pro tem is not here.
I will be more than happy to accept that as a friendly amendment, sir.
All right. Any more discussion? All right, it's been a motion that Mayor Pro Tem Wilkins be the designated spokesperson for the city of Creedmoor, and Commissioner Moss be the alternate that would also help out with these duties. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. 5B, Main Street Auto Extension Number 2. Mr. Dallas Barker?
Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners, I come today to present the 2024-01 Main Street Auto Extension Number 2. The original permit for this use was in December 2024 and ran through December of 2025. There was an extension request in November of 2025. That extension request runs out June 3rd, 2026. The applicant is asking for a 1-year additional extension that would extend this conditional zone permit out to June 3rd, 2027. Both the property owner and the business owner are here to speak or ask questions if you would like. The staff recommendation is to approve the extension.
All right, thank you, Mr. Barker. Do we have any discussion?
What's the
Mr. Gleason.
of the planning department?
The recommendation was to approve the extension for a year. They have, as far as we're concerned, they've acted in good faith, but they're having some financial difficulties just meeting the conditions. We do believe that they will make it.
I'll make a motion then that we extend their compliance for 12 months to June 3rd, 2027.
One second. Commissioner Kozinski?
No.
Nothing? Okay. All right, is there a motion that we approve this extension, to June 3rd, 2027? Motion to extend the period of compliance 12 months or until June 3rd, 2027. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
Mr. Jeff, do you have any comments that you would like to make?
I just want to thank everyone up there for the grace that they're giving us to
Revote.
continue to try to work on that, and this, we both go with Jim.
And I'm supposed to say, thank you very much, we appreciate you being nice.
Okay. Yes, sir.
It's 2-2 right now. You gotta do tiebreaker.
As the vote is 2-2 right now, and Mr. Jeff,
No. No, me and Morse.
Okay, I'm sorry, my bad.
discussion?
Yeah, my problem is not the extension, my problem is the lengthy extension. So the issue before is not whether we support local business growth, because we certainly do. The issue for me is whether the city will consistently enforce conditions attached to a conditional zoning approval, which was originally granted on December 2nd of 2024. This business has already been afforded substantial accommodation by the board. The initial extension was granted on November 18, 2025, followed by a second extension through July 3rd of 2026. At some point, the board has to draw a line and uphold the integrity of our conditional zoning process. Conditional zoning approvals are not suggestions. They are binding commitments made between the applicant and the city. If we continually extend deadlines without consequence, we undermine public confidence in our ordinances and create the appearance that the compliance is optional for some while mandatory for others. Granting another one-year extension would also be unfair to the many businesses and homeowners who are on a community who have complied with city requirements in a timely manner, and often at significant expense. Those individuals should not be placed at a disadvantage because others are repeatedly allowed additional time beyond what was originally agreed upon. Furthermore, approving repeated extensions establishes a dangerous precedent. Future applicants may reasonably expect similar treatment, making enforcement of conditional zoning conditions increasingly difficult. Over time, this weakens the authority of the board and erodes the consistency necessary for sound land use governance. At the same time, I believe the city should act reasonably and provide one final opportunity for compliance. Therefore, I'm willing to support a final 6-month extension to allow the applicant sufficient time to complete the required conditions. However, this extension must be clearly understood and final and non-negotiable. If compliance is not done by that time, enforcement measures, including applicable fines and penalties, should immediately commence. That's my opinion, 6 months rather than a year.
Commissioner Kozinski?
I wish we would have had that before we voted. I agree with you on what you're saying, that we just can't keep extending. I got that. I understand that. And we do know that there is another business in Creedmoor that's going to be coming before us to ask for an extension again also. I will agree with 6 months. If I don't know how this works now because we voted, and I don't know what we have to do.
I'm sorry. I think we do have the ability to offer a substitute motion.
Amend the motion?
No, a substitute motion. You would vote on the substitute motion first. So that 6 months is my substitute motion.
Okay. Should a motion that we extend the period of compliance to 6 months instead of 1 year. Is there any discussion?
I have one question. Mayor Pro Tem Wilson said final And I think that needs to be in the motion that
Yeah, I
that's what
agree.
you want.
Yes, yeah. It should be final after 6 months, and then fines would begin to accumulate.
Well, the motion is to extend the period of compliance to 6 months or January the 1st, 2027 as a final extension. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. 5C, residential traffic calming policy. Chief Willis?
Evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem.
Good evening.
Several years ago, the city received a request from Whitehall HOA to install traffic calming devices, also known as speed bumps and speed humps, to slow down speeders. The problem got better following traffic evaluation, increased patrols, and temporary installation of a speed sign. In anticipation of a similar concern, Paddington HOA has requested speed humps ahead of the Branch Crossing subdivision opening, which has interconnecting streets. Realizing the need for a traffic calming policy to establish guidelines and criteria, the Creedmoor Police Department, Public Works Department, Community Development Office, City Engineer, City Manager have prepared a traffic calming policy which will give the city a uniform and consistent manner in which to address the present and future calming requests from our citizens. The goal of the city's residential traffic calming policy is to create safe neighborhoods, decrease collisions, and improve the quality of life to residents. The policy guides city staff and informs residents about the process of implementing traffic calming in the residential areas. First step will be for residents or HOAs to conduct at least 2 neighborhood awareness campaigns that reach at least 50% of their households. These meetings should include discussions about talking with neighbors, friends, and residents of their neighborhood about the issues of speeding, since speeders are not always non-residents. After at least 2 neighborhood awareness campaigns, residents and HOAs can complete the traffic calming form and submit it to Public Works. City staff will then initiate a traffic engineering study to see if the traffic calming device or other traffic control devices are warranted. This may take up to 90 days to complete. If the situation warrants traffic calming devices, the city will follow the traffic calming device guidelines, which range from no physical / no cost measures to high impact, high cost measures such as center islands or mini roundabouts. Being that the city does not have a special source funding for the traffic calming project, funding will be determined on a case by case basis with no guarantee the city's funding will be available for any project. Outside of any questions from the board, I motion to adopt this.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Good evening, Chief. For transparency, I live in Paddington. The safety concerns raised by the Paddington HOA are both reasonable and foreseeable, given the independent connection of Branch Crossing, which will add approximately 171 additional homes, significantly increase traffic volume along Westbourne Drive. While I appreciate the city's recommendation to utilize residential traffic calming devices, I believe those measures alone may not sufficiently address the speeding concerns of residents, particularly in a neighborhood heavily populated with children and families. The reality is that most drivers travel at the speed they personally feel comfortable driving, regardless of posted speed limits or passive traffic calming measures. As traffic increases between the 2 connected subdivisions, there's a legitimate concern that Westbourne Drive could become a cut-through corridor, leading to higher speeds and increased danger to pedestrians, children at play, those riding bikes, and residents walking throughout the community. For that reason, I support the installation of speed humps, not speed bumps, in conjunction with the city's residential traffic calming policy. Speed humps are specifically designed to slow residential traffic in a safer and more gradual manner, while allowing emergency vehicles and normal neighborhood traffic to navigate effectively. Unlike passive traffic calming devices, speed humps create a physical incentive for motorists to reduce speed consistently throughout the neighborhood. In my view, this is not simply about traffic management, it's about productive public safety. Waiting until accidents occur or children are injured before taking stronger measures would be irresponsible when the increased traffic impact from an additional 171 homes is already foreseeable. Therefore, I support implementing the city's traffic calming strategies, but I also strongly support the installation of properly engineered speed humps along Westbourne Drive to help ensure the safety and quality of life of the Paddington residents. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Kuzinski?
Chief, I thank you so much for this policy. It is way overdue. And I'm glad we finally got one. And, I agree that it's fair. From living in Whitehall, some of this stuff has already been done, and it was done that way for us. And we have people cut through off of Elm Street, North Side Road, and Davenport to get to Main Street constantly. And I have, when we had the Yorkshire people here to build the Yorkshire subdivision, they wanted to cut through into Pine Valley, and I'm sure everybody remembers. I was like, no. Cut-throughs, no cut-throughs. It's a horrible situation. I was not on the board when Brains Crossing was approved. I would have never approved this cut-through because I knew neighborhoods can be connected through sidewalks, not this. And I appreciate the time and the effort that you put into this traffic calming policy. And I am in favor of it.
Commissioner Moss?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too am supportive of the policy. I do have a couple of questions though. Historically, and again, things change. Historically, fire and EMS have not been supportive of speed humps or those types of traffic calming devices because it slows down their reaction time. I was just curious, and maybe it's in there and I may have just read over it. Was there any consideration given to that in this policy?
Yes, there is, and you're exactly right. And that hasn't changed over the years. That is still a concern with the fire department and the police as, the issues arise. But this policy is just a consistent, systematic way for us to make sure that we address every request the same. It's not saying that this has to be done or this has to be done. This is literally saying when we get a request, we make sure that we're following the same guidelines, everybody follows the same rules in terms of what the city or the board does. That's all the policy does. It doesn't lean one way or the other. It just gives us a manner in which to follow to address these questions and issues.
Thank you, sir. And kind of a follow-up, anticipating that other communities beyond Whitehall and Paddington will most likely learn about this and begin reaching out. And I didn't actually got a little confused around the street width part of it. And maybe I'll just ask the question this way. So let's take Lion Street, Cozart Street, which is my street, Watson Street, Pecan, over in that area of town. Would they qualify for traffic calming devices? Gotcha. Okay. All right. Okay. And then my last question is, I know it may be a little bit early in the process, but, and I ask this question in light of, we are already in a tight budget year. Was there any thoughts as to how much, maybe even with just Whitehall and Paddington, what the implementation costs might look like?
No, again, this policy just gives a step-by-step way to do it. Obviously, it starts with putting a lot of onus on the citizens or the residents of that subdivision or their home association to make sure they conduct their research before a lot of city staff is involved in it. And we start using city money to look into things like that. But as far as, it's stated very clearly in the policy that funding is not, there's not a fund for traffic calming. That is something that is looked at on a case-by-case basis by the board, and obviously funding is appropriated by the board as they see fit to address whatever issues. So, no, it's on a case-by-case basis with board approval.
Thank you, sir.
Mayor Pro Tem?
So are we saying we're gonna institute this policy if the board votes yes? And are you saying no to speed humps in Paddington?
I am not saying that, no. I'm just saying that if the board votes this, then it just goes through the process where they fill out, they do their 2 meetings, they have to have at least 50% of the people involved in Paddington, involved in that study. They have to have 2, again, a lot of it starts with simple things like conversations. A lot of people that speak to your neighborhood are probably neighbors or friends or things like that, so that starts with the conversation with people in the neighborhood. Again, at no cost, all it costs is a little bit of time for people to get together to talk about that. But this is not saying, no, there's not gonna be speed humps or speed bumps, and it's not saying, yes, there are gonna be. It's simply just saying that whenever we request, then they just follow the process to go through, whatever the board decides to do, and if the board decides to do.
Commissioner Gleason?
Speed bumps, do slow traffic. They do slow emergency services vehicles, but in those neighborhoods, most of the time, the emergency service vehicle is gonna be going about the speed limit, and not much more. In Golden Pond, which is the biggest subdivision in Creedmoor, and probably has the most traffic on Furbo Street than any other street in the city, a stop sign placed on one intersection in that street completely changed the flow of traffic in that neighborhood. So speed bumps are speed bumps. You wouldn't want to live in a house that the speed bump is in front of your house. Because I don't care what time of day it is, whether it's 3 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, there's bump, 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 bump. So that has to be given consideration when you look at the location of a speed bump. People complain about ruts in the street after the highway department's been there making noise. So again, that's just another concern I have with speed bumps.
In addition to what you're saying, if you live in a house that a speed bump is installed in front of, you're gonna get the car coming, you're gonna hear it slowing down, you're gonna hear the car go over, and then you hear the acceleration. You're gonna hear all that no matter what time of day it is. And every once in a while, we all know you're gonna get somebody that just ignores the speed bump is there, and you can bottom out, this type of speed bump. So yes, you're correct, that will be, obviously something that needs to be taken into consideration if the board ever decides to install it.
Commissioner Kaczynski?
So, under the traffic calming warrant section, on page 1702, I'm questioning why the sufficient cause is determined at the discretion of the city manager or the public works director. Why would it not be the police department?
So the police department plays a big role in this. Obviously, since I wrote it, or had a lot to do with it, I didn't want to take all the responsibility for the decision.
Oh, I'd rather give it all to you.
That's why, but obviously, we're heavily involved in this policy.
Who's gonna do the study, the police department?
And public works, so we can use our speed signs as we did to collect data, as we had before. That's a huge help to us, because we can see who's going, what speeds at what times, how many people, it gives a lot of data to come up with that. So it's really just a, cooperation between all of the city departments that will have, safety.
Okay.
Chief, I got a question. Does this go 90 days, then into action, or when does it start? When will the 90 days start? When will the case study start?
So, obviously they can do their meetings whenever they want. But as soon as they fill out the, forms, then that starts the 90 days until the city gets here, they start doing their traffic engineering survey. Depending on that, again, it's a lot of this relies on the board to make decisions on whether we move forward or how we go after we present all the information and data. So, I'm gonna say, yes, from the initial time they fill the paperwork out, yes, it's 90 days, but then it kind of goes very long.
Commissioner Kaczynski? Did she have anything? City Manager?
And we do have one official request already from the Paddington HOA, so if this policy is approved this evening, we can start the process of evaluation in that subdivision.
It would have to have the date updated, right?
What was that?
We would have to update the date to today. So that
The date of the
90
policy.
the date of the request.
The request.
We don't want 90
good
days
point.
to start a
Good
month
point.
ago.
Good point.
It wouldn't start until the date of this approved for 90 days out. Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Mr. Mayor, there's no more discussion. I'd like to make a motion to adopt the traffic calming policy.
No more discussion? There's been a motion being made to adopt the traffic calming policy. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Chief. Expansion of the Hometown Heroes banner program. Commissioner Kozinski.
Thank you. Hometown banners have been up, for about 2 years now. 2 years?
Yeah.
And, I have often stated on the record that it's not just for veterans, that it should be for fire and police and EMS and stuff like that. And now we've got, the first situation is, Chief Udy. Captain Udy. And, we had to modify the hometown banners program application because of first responders. And while we asked veterans for a DD 214, we're asking the first responders, police, fire, and EMS, for their qualifying certification or other proof of service, such as a letter from their chief or their captain or whatever. And hopefully this will help the fundraising efforts that we have, where this started from, for, to raise the funds to repay the city back on the memorial monument. The monument will not change. The bricks will not change. This is just, we have heroes in this town that are police, fire, EMS, and they deserve to be recognized too. And City Manager, I believe we have a request for one already.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, we do.
So I just wanted to bring this to the board and see if anybody has any objection to this idea.
I have none.
Ed, we're gonna put.
I make a motion that,
Put your face up there.
no. I make a motion that we extend the, heroes banners to first responders as well as veterans.
All right, it's been a motion to extend the Hometown Heroes banners to commemorate veterans and first responders, police officers, firefighters, and EMS workers. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Financial update of the month of April. Mr. Lee Faines.
Mayor, Board, I had a thing before the April financial summary report. As I state always, same format as every month. The property taxes at the end of April collected at sitting at 97%, so well on pace to collect all of estimated revenue and ad valorem taxes. Sales and use tax, 70% collected. Total revenue collected as of April 30th, 51%. General fund expenditures, 86% expensed. Stormwater fund revenues of actual stormwater revenue collected by the county, as well as interest income on those stormwater funds, 135% collected. Stormwater fund expenditures, 78% expensed. Power bill fund revenues, 104% collected. So to the both allocations of power bill funds as well as interest earned on those power bill funds in the cash management trust account. Power bill fund expenditures, 28% expense. There are some things that Public Works and the city engineer is working on that they will bring to you all here in the next few meetings before the end of the fiscal year to encumber some of those funds to get those funds spent and on the books for power bill reporting. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, Lee, good evening.
Good evening.
I noticed the, gym rental, the event room rental, and the meeting room rental are significantly off budget. Did we over budget on these three categories?
So these are areas where they are citizen driven. And you kind of budget, my base, I kind of look at the previous years and I kind of go off of that number. Things could change in the middle of the year where people just don't rent the gym like they did in the previous year. So it's one of those areas where
you kinda can go off the estimate just in the previous years, but it can change, drastically in the middle of the year based on the citizens' activity. Next year, you will see the impact of the fee and rate schedule, adjustment that you all did early in the year for Parks and Rec. So you will see that impact, in the next year's revenue, and see how that plays a part in those funds.
So I know we haven't got there yet, but next year's budget, were those adjustments made down for next year based on these numbers?
Same level, because I didn't want to over project, and they come under. So if we do exceed what was estimated, there's additional revenue that
Right.
we can earn and go toward our fund.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Any more questions? All right, thanks, Lee. All right. 2026 fireworks display. City Manager.
On February the 16th, 2026, the Zambelli Fireworks Company of Boca Raton, Florida submitted a proposal of $22,000 and an inquiry to hold the date of July 3rd, 2026 for the City of Creedmoor's annual fireworks display that's held in conjunction with the Butner community at Holt Lake. To lock in that date and with the city manager's approval, the event coordinator expedited the agreement and submitted a request to process the required 50% down payment. Finance Director Lee Faines processed the purchase order, and the required down payment of $11,000 was forwarded to Zambelli. City Attorney reviewed the contract on May 12th and stated contract is fine and should go before the board for final ratification. Funding for the annual event is covered each year by an interlocal agreement, which was executed on February 21, 2017 between the City of Creedmoor and the Town of Butner to share the cost on a 50-50 basis after all expenses and donations had been received. City Attorney Kevin Hornick last reviewed this agreement on July 14, 2025 and had no concerns. It is the manager's recommendation to approve the 2026 Zambelli agreement not to exceed $22,000.
Any discussion?
Yeah, just one question. Correct me if I'm wrong. City Manager, I thought your limit was $10,000 without board approval. I could be wrong.
Say again?
I thought your limit was $10,000 without board approval. Is it more than that?
It is, and this contract should have come to y'all. It was an oversight, and we missed it when we discovered it. We knew we had to bring it to you guys for approval. Yes, sir.
So we had a oops. Okay. Thank you. We need a motion, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, we need a motion.
I would so move.
All right. There's been a motion to approve the 2026 Zambelli fireworks agreement not to exceed $22,000. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 4-0. 5G, 2027 SRO agreement. City Manager?
The next three items, 5G, H, and I, are items for informational purposes before we get into our FY27 budget presentation. We've got an SRO agreement we want to give you an update on, an interlocal agreement with the Telecommunication 911 Center, and a 5-year update on the CIP. So I'll begin with the SRO. On June 30, 2026, the School Resource Officer Agreement between Granville County and the Granville County Public School System and Creedmoor is scheduled to expire. During last year's discussion, the board asked staff to revisit the increasing number of SRO service hours being requested from the Granville County School System and to recalculate the actual cost to the city to cover these increases. South Granville High School has 2 SROs. During the review and calculation, there was a reduction in services requested by Dr. Winborn from the previous year. 1 SRO would not be needed for 3 weeks of summer school coverage from 6/3 to 6/26 for a total reduction in contract of 11 weeks, and 2 SROs would not be needed for 4 weeks for the 9th grade academy from 6/23 to 7/25. As a result of these adjustments and recalculations, Granville County has agreed to increase the funding level for all SROs from $75,000 per year in 2026 to $83,000 per year in 2027. Mount Energy has one SRO that is 100% funded by the city. And in addition to those 3 SROs I just mentioned, Dr. Winborn has requested and the county has agreed to fund one new SRO for Granville Academy and Phoenix Academy at $83,000 for 39 weeks per year on the campus of the former Creedmoor Elementary School. Overall, the school resource officer funding program with Granville County is increasing from $150,000 in 2026 to two officers to $249,000 to 3 officers in 2027. The county has the contract on this. They gave us the blank while we're waiting to be sure that they accepted all the terms. It was in the county attorney's office, and when that contract comes back to us, we will bring it back to the board for final approval.
All right, Commissioner Kozinski.
Didn't you have
Thank you,
a
Mr.
chart
Manager.
with the amount of time that we are paying for?
I have a chart I can share if the board wants some more information. Yes, ma'am.
So my issue with the SRO contract last year, was that we were doing summer school, we were doing summer stuff, we were covering an awful lot of stuff, and we weren't getting paid a lot of money. It wasn't just the school year we were covering. And I wanted to make sure that there was a time, the payment was in line with the amount of time that they were paying for. And on this chart that you see, it says 46 weeks of school, or 39 weeks of school and 13 weeks Creedmoor Police Department for the Mount Energy and South Granville. And that, this way, if there's summer school and stuff, Chief, do we have a idea of how much more they're gonna pay if they want us during the summer? Has that been worked out yet? Okay. And the other thing that I want this board to be aware of, Butner Public Safety pays Falls Lake Academy for an SRO, and that comes out of Butner's budget. However, Falls Lake Academy pays back Butner Public Safety. So the SRO at Falls Lake is free. The Butner Elementary School SRO is also free because it's funded by the county. So my issue with all of this is that we are the city with the most SROs, and we are funding Mount Energy at 100%. And I don't know, I just want everybody to be aware of that. I think Oxford's agreement, from the research I've done, is pretty much the 39 and 13 like we're doing here. But we've done 100% for the past 2 years.
Commissioner Moss.
Thank you. Commissioner Kozinski, who's the author of this chart? This, the city document?
Yes,
It's
sir.
your
I was
document.
going to explain that chart when
Okay.
I got a second.
Thank you.
That'd be great, thank you.
City Manager.
All right. One side, you'll see the 2026 funding, where we are today with those 3 officers, one being funded by Creedmoor and the other 2 at $75,000. There is an exact calculation of the number of weeks under the SRO's name and the percent of time that they work for the school and the percent of time they work for Creedmoor PD. Now, as you flip this over to 2027, the county has gone with $83,000 per officer, and you can compare those weeks. There's a reduction in some, there's an increase in some, and with the addition of the brand-new officer at the old former Mount Creedmoor Elementary, there's an additional $83,000 that's coming in this year. That increases our budget actually about $23,301 for our portion of those services. So you'll hear about that a little bit later on in the presentation. And if you have any questions on that, the percentage of times is a good way to look at the comparison on both columns, and you can see how much time they spend where. And those officers have offices at those schools, so even if school's closed, they will be there working in their offices doing the investigation work, whatever the chief, lieutenant, sergeant assigns them to do. That's what they'll be doing if you see them at the school.
Any more discussion? I don't think we need to vote on anything, right?
No.
right.
That contract will come back, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, I do have a question, I'm sorry. So I was thinking about what Commissioner Kozinski was saying, and I just would like to get some clarification on exactly what you were saying. Were you saying we shouldn't be paying anything, or?
No, I'm not saying that. I just want this board to be aware
Okay,
that Butner has two SROs and they're not paying anything. And I got that directly from their budget ordinance,
mm-hmm,
and I confirmed it with the commissioners in Butner. So I'm not saying anything wrong. It says right in there that they fund the SRO at Falls Lake Academy and are reimbursed, and they fund the one at the elementary school and are reimbursed by the county. So it's just want you to know.
so is it a fair question then? Why are we paying and they aren't? Is that a fair question?
My question.
My understanding, and Chief, I don't, you may have to step up and help me with this one. The school system gets a number of grants, and that's how they fund these positions. We get one of those funded from them through a grant.
Mm-hmm.
My understanding is the same thing with Butner. They get funded through a grant as well. Chief, you may have more to add to that.
Yeah, so originally when the city first annexed Mount Energy in, it came before the board, they annexed it in. Obviously, the motion was made, or it was understood that the school system was not going to know if they had the money to fund it until October of that year. So our board decided to go ahead and fund it from the beginning of school before October, and so that's how it started. Initially, Creedmoor paying 100% of that, and that has kept going. And I think in the meetings that I've sat in, I think that is how it's considered. Since the city took this on from the beginning, then this is the city's responsibility to continue to pay. That's just the mindset that I get from the meetings that I've had.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Is that all for clarification? All right. Thank you, Mr. City Manager. All right. Chief, you should have stayed up. 5H, interlocal agreement with Granville County and reclassification of telecommunicator positions. Chief Willis.
March 17, 2026, the Board of Commissioners approved the motion to direct the city manager to proceed with negotiations with Granville County and Granville County 911, Emergency 911 Communications, take over the Creedmoor Police Department Telecommunications Center. Granville County submitted a proposal to take over the telecommunications center for the annual cost of $147,189 beginning July 1st, which, here, that was approved by their board last night. Here to let me answer any questions you might have. As a result of our telecommunications being absorbed by the county, our three current telecommunicators have been repurposed and will be assigned to other duties to ensure the police department operates as efficiently as possible. The new job titles will be evidence custodian, a record specialist, and a program administrator. The job description for these three positions were in your packet that you had. With the creation of these new positions, supervise the position of these, oversee the operation of these critical support services within the department. The program administrator will take over many of the duties and tasks currently which fall under our community liaison officer. After an internal look at current job titles and descriptions, I'm requesting we change the community liaison officer position to a lieutenant of support services. To operate within our current budget, I'm requesting the job duties as well as job title be changed, with no additional monies added to the current salary, as it will fall within the same pay grade as our investigative lieutenant, which is a pay grade 24. In addition, the Lieutenant of Support Services will also serve as a primary contact for Granville County 911 effective July 1st, 2026. Outside of any questions that the board has, I have to approve the classifications for these positions effective July 1st, 2026.
Do you have any questions? Mr. Moss?
Yeah, just one. So what will the community liaison be doing?
So they would in turn supervise these positions. So they would supervise the three telecommunications positions that are now going to
Mm-hmm.
and also be the liaison between Granville County 911 to ensure that we maintain that partnership, and also the training and anything support will be supervised by that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, all right. as the old saying goes, that train has already left the station. If I had it to do all over again, I probably would not vote to outsource it, but I get it. I'm still not comfortable with it, but I'm sure it's all gonna work out, but, yeah, we are where we are.
Commissioner Kozinski?
And Commissioner Moss, I agree with you. Domestic violence scares me to death, and I have, in a past life, driven into a police department begging for help. And the thought of somebody doing that and nobody here for them concerns me. But the chief has assured us it's only happened once in 3 years. If it does, we'll have to deal with it then. I guess we'll figure it out again. But this is going to be effective July 1st, 2026, if it's passed tonight. Okay.
And again, I'm very confident that, obviously, it has been brought to my attention several times by some of our citizens, and when they do call 911, they go straight to the 911 center. And oftentimes there is a delay in relaying that information back to Creedmoor. So that happens. I understand that you say that, you know, we will have it so there is a way that they can connect to 911 and get someone here. In all honesty, I get it, you know, that's the way it's been, that's the way, you know, it has worked in the past, but that's not a big concern.
And with 4 officers on a shift, we would be able to, if someone's calling into 911, get a police officer to intercept that person, perhaps.
Oh, absolutely. Again, it's just for operational function, I think it's better all the way around for us.
Commissioner Moss?
So is, 528-1515 going away?
No, so we still have that, we still will man that office in the front. Just if you dial 911, anything, it just goes through the dispatch center. There's no change there whatsoever. I mean, they come up first now when we're short. So, absolutely nothing there's changed except the challenge of finding coverage when, vacations, although that has become a real challenge for me and my team over the last several months.
I only ask, I'll have to retrain my family, because over the years, I've always had them call 919-528-1515 or anything, so, yeah, I get it. Thank you.
Just one,
Commissioner Gleason?
currently all the 911 calls go there anyway,
Yes.
right? Okay.
So I dialed 1515 2 weeks ago and got 911.
Because they were.
I thought I was talking here.
It all works.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the reclassification of the telecommunications position program administrator.
All right, it's been a motion to approve the interlocal agreement for law enforcement dispatch service between Granville County and the city of Creedmoor.
I read the second one.
You good?
I'm going with the first.
You go to the first one?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so we're doing them both.
Well, we're gonna do them one at a time. All right, so it's a motion to approve the proposed interlocal agreement for law enforcement dispatch services between Granville County and the city of Creedmoor. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Do we need another motion?
Motion to classification of telecommunicators position as noted, and the community liaison officer position to support services lieutenant.
All right, it's been a motion to approve the reclassification of telecommunicators positions to program administrator, evidence custodial, and record specialist, and the community liaison officer position to support services lieutenant. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. We teach the kids to call 911 anyway, so not 1515. So, all right, thanks, Chief. All right, 5-year CIP, Mr. Carl Barclay.
Mr. Mayor, members of the board.
Good evening.
Carl Barkley, your city engineer. Tonight I represent the draft 5-year capital improvement plan. This covers FY 27 through FY 31. And projects that have been completed or already started have been removed from the plan. These projects include the police department building, which is currently under construction behind me. And that also includes the city hall renovation and the office space for the community development office. Also removed from the CIP, restroom improvements at Lake Rogers Park, the sealing and striping of the community center parking lot, the emergency operation plan for continuity of government during an emergency, the emergency action plan for the Lake Rogers Dam, vehicles purchased for Public Works and the Community Development Office, and various purchases, including a lawnmower, trailer, paddle boats, and a Christmas tree. And as we have 5 weeks left in FY '26, we are expecting to start 2 more projects. That would be the design for the Douglas Drive roadway improvements and the Holly Creek Lane washout repair. So hopefully in 2 weeks, I'll be standing for you again, presenting those proposals to you. All right, now as you look at the CIP, you see the first column is project category, second column, associated department for that item. Project type, they vary from things that are completely new to upgrades to existing items to replacement in kind. Project title is a short description of the project. Project elements, that defines the scope of that item. Sometimes design and construction are combined together in 1 year, other times they're split up in different years. So it's important to notice that for those. Funding sources, the next column, which pot of money does it come from? That first page is all general fund. On the second page, you'll see there's several that are being funded by the Powell Bill or Stormwater Fund. And please remember, all those dollar amounts that you see, those are preliminary estimates, very preliminary. Once we get a final design in, we'll have a lot better idea, but until we accept the bid, that's the final word as far as what it's going to cost, the bid that we accept. So right now, those are just preliminary estimates. Now we're only showing known projects for FY '27. So that includes the Main Street parking lot, which was advertised starting last Monday, and it closes this Friday. So hopefully we'll get an acceptable bid in and we can move forward with that. The dumpster corral at the community center, and then the committed NC Cardiff grant match, if we were to get that grant awarded to us, that is. And there's a couple possibilities that might be accelerated by a year. We look for opportunities to do that. One of those, the Holly Creek Lane washout repair. It shouldn't take that long to design that repair, so we might actually be able to do the construction next FY. So that's one that we would look to accelerate. Also, some of the repairs on the Lake Rogers Dam, it's possible that we will have something in hand to move on in FY '27. So when appropriate, we'll look for opportunities to advance. But all of the other projects have been pushed out for further consideration in the future. Now, there's no point in me reading everything that's in the next 4 years after that, so I'll just let you absorb that and let me know if there are any questions.
Commissioner Kaczynski.
Carl, where are we on the Dogwood Whitehall drainage improvements? I haven't seen anybody out in the neighborhoods in a while.
They gathered the field data, and now they're back in the office, and they're going through their number crunching, and they're designing.
Okay. Someone asked me, and I was like, I haven't even noticed. They haven't been there in a while.
Well, I'm getting invoices every month, so I noticed. They're working on it.
Any more questions? No? All right. Thanks, Carl.
Thanks, Carl.
5J, budget workshop update. Mr. City Manager and Lee.
Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners, good evening. In accordance with the North Carolina Local Government Budget and Fiscal Control Act, I'm pleased to submit to the board this evening for your consideration the proposed fiscal year 2026-27 budget for the city of Creedmoor. The budget calendar began with the February 7th annual strategic planning workshop and will run through its final consideration for adoption hopefully next month. You've seen this work schedule in a different format before. After a thorough analysis grasping the needs of city departments and evaluating the details of all funding requests, The general fund budget proposed to be $7,687,780, which is an increase of $375,986 or 5% from the current 26 adopted budget. This budget was challenging as we worked to achieve a budget that's physically responsible with the addition of a debt service payment of $252,602 for the new police department building and city hall renovation project. This proposed budget includes a tax increase up to 58 cents or per $100 in value, or a 6-cent increase from current fiscal year. As the city of Creedmoor awaits the completion of the Subwassa I-85 project, where upgrades and expansions of sewer infrastructure, along with the I-85 corridor, are under construction, the city must begin to anticipate the growth we expected to receive due to the increase of the city's water and sewer capacity. This proposed budget invests in the growth, retention, and compensation of our employees who are valuable and essential to the daily operation of city government. The total FY27 budget with stormwater power bill totals the bottom number there, $8,320.88, $811. Revenue analysis. Total city population valuation is $665,605,539 as of April 15, 2026. The FY27 budgeted tax revenue is projected to be $3,780,949, and the FY27 budget sales tax revenue is estimated to be $1,953,694. Including in this year's revenue is an increase in municipal tax from $10 per vehicle to $20 per vehicle, which will generate an additional $43,000 to be used for maintaining, repairing, reconstructing, widening, or improving city streets that do not form a part of the state highway system here in Creedmoor. Investment earnings. Investment earnings have increased significantly over the last 2 years due to the increase of the interest rate. However, as the federal interest rate begins to lower, the city anticipates receiving $50,000 less than the $500,000 received this year, for a total of $450,000 in 2027. Recommended tax rate. Property tax for real property and vehicles are calculated using a formula that incorporates property values, tax rates, and estimated collection rates. Real property revenues for 27 are estimated to be $3,780,949 using a collection rate of 99.83%, which was in our 2025 audit, an increase of $457,540 or 12%. Although the city has seen a significant increase in sales tax revenue through the pandemic, the sales tax revenue seen during those periods is starting to settle down. Staff are projecting level sales tax revenues in the incoming budget. Total revenue projections for sales tax are $1,953,694 for FY27. Fund balance. It is necessary for all local governments to maintain a fund balance to provide for unanticipated expenses or emergencies and to provide working capital in the first several months of the fiscal year, until adequate revenues are available to fund the operation. As stated in the city's fiscal policy guidelines, it is the goal of the city of Creedmoor to have the fund balance available for appropriation at 50% of the year's expenditures. Limiting appropriations of fund balance to non-recurring expenses, and then only when it is at a level healthy enough to warrant spending, is physically responsible. With a budget deficit of $843,627, a 6-cent tax increase will generate $412,926. A significantly reduced amount is needed from fund balance over the previous year of $430,701 to balance the budget. It is important to note that this year's allocation from fund balance is $239,977 less than FY26. Budget highlights. So, to hit a few high spots in what's in this year's budget is a citywide classification and compensation study, which was last done 5 years ago. A telecommunications reorganization that you just heard from the chief is costing $147,000. 2% cost of living, we reduced that from 3 to 2, recommended for full-time employees. Elders employee contribution rates, which we don't have any control over, effective July 1, 2026. Law enforcement will go from 16.08 to 17.10, and general employees will go from 14.36 to 15.10%. And I mentioned before, also this year is the first debt payment service for the construction of the new police building and City Hall renovation project at $252,602 that we didn't have in the budget last year or have to pay last year. We also have the one additional SRO that was mentioned earlier for Granville and Phoenix Academies at the former Creedmoor Elementary School. We have increase in fuel costs as everybody is experiencing, and a projected increase in postage costs from 78 cents to somewhere between there and 90 is what I'm hearing. We just have to plan for that. Then there's an annual fleet management payment for the police department's vehicles of $242,282 for the year. Next slide. Percent by department. This percentage shows each department is required. I'm not going to read those for you. You can see what each department receives. The police, of course, being the largest of those. And then each department or agency. All right, next slide. Outside agency requests. Each fiscal year, the city provides funding to support various organizations and other nonprofit agencies. The total allocation for outgoing agency funding this year is $10,500. You can see Families Living Violence Free. We got an application from each one of these. $1,500. Creedmoor Veterans Affairs Committee, $500. The Creedmoor Cemetery, which is our responsibility, we own that cemetery. We pay $5,500. That's an increase of about $1,000. I'm sure for cost of equipment, fuel, and everything that those contractors use. Crime Stoppers went up from 500 to 750. Granville County Search and Rescue, 2,000, and the Granville County Historical Society, $250. That was actually a decrease. Stormwater Enterprise Fund. The Stormwater Fund in the city of Creedmoor is the city's only enterprise fund. The enterprise funds are used to account for operations that are financed and operated in a manner like private business enterprise, where the intent of the governing body is that the cost of the goods being provided and services to the public on a continuing basis be financed or recovered primarily through those charges. The total FY27 recommended budget for the Stormwater Fund is $440,951. This being a decrease of $82 from FY26. This recommended budget does not include any major projects to be completed in the upcoming fiscal year. Power bill. FY27 revenue assumptions for power bill is comprised of $164,000 of state allocations and $36,000 of interest income. Recommended expenditures are $200,000 to fund the Douglas Drive and Holly Creek roadway study and the sidewalk gap design. Next step. Fiscal year 2026 recommended budget maintains the city's current services, addresses the priorities set by the board, and supports the exceptional workforce of the city of Creedmoor. The public hearing to receive residents' comments on the proposed budget is scheduled for June the 2nd, 2026 at 6 p.m. at the City Hall Boardroom, and is also available on the city's website for anyone who would like to see that. So that concludes my presentation, and certainly welcome your questions or comments.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Mr. Mayor, fellow commissioners, I may be a so-called negative Ned tonight, and I speak only for myself. But I cannot support increasing the Creedmoor ad valorem tax rate above the current 52 cents, which is a 6 cents increase and burn out taxpayers with an additional $404,000. Our citizens have already endorsed substantial increases in their property tax burden over the last 2 years, through both the prior 10 cents municipal tax increase last year the Granville County Property Evaluation Equalization process 2 years ago, which in many cases increased homeowner tax burdens between 30 and 50%. At some point, government must recognize taxpayers have limits. The people of Creedmoor are not an unlimited revenue source. The taxpayer burden has already increased dramatically. The reality is that many homeowners are already paying significantly more in property taxes without the town raising the rate again, because assessed property values increase substantially during the county equalization process, as I mentioned. For many working families, insurance costs are higher, utility costs are higher, food prices remain elevated, interest rates remain high, home values increase on paper, but incomes did not increase proportionally. A retiree living on a fixed income cannot pay taxes without unrealized equity. The North Carolina General Assembly is actively debating legislation and constitutional amendments designed specifically to limit excessive local property tax growth and protect homeowners from escalating tax burdens. The clear direction from Raleigh is government should restrain spending growth before automatically increasing property taxes. North Carolina is a dominion property tax restraint. For Creedmoor to increase taxes immediately after a reevaluation, municipal tax increase, and ongoing statewide concern over affordability would send the wrong message to our residents. A budget shortfall does not automatically justify a tax increase. The current proposed budget reflects approximately $800,000 shortfall. A shortfall is proof that expenditures exceed revenues. And when expenditures exceed revenues, responsible government first evaluates spending priorities, operation efficiencies, delayed capital projects, staffing growth, non-essential expenditures, and departmental reductions. Government should cut discretionary spending before demanding more from our taxpayers. And the general fund cannot continue to be depleted. It is not a piggy bank. The town has already committed $2 million from the general fund towards the construction of our new police department. And while I support investing in public safety infrastructure, because it is a core responsibility, however, after making that commitment, I have no further desire to further reduce the general fund to compensate for ongoing operational spending growth. That would place the town in a fiscally weakest position during economic uncertainty, during emergencies, during infrastructure failures, and during future downturns. The general fund is not designed to become a recurring balance mechanism for structurally unbalanced budgets. Using reserves repeatedly only delays the difficult but necessary work of controlling spending. Fiscal discipline must come before tax increases. Before this board asks citizens for even one additional penny in taxes, we should require the administration to produce a truly balanced budget through reductions and prioritizations. That means identifying non-essential spending, delaying low priority initiatives, reevaluating staffing increases, reducing discretionary spending, and finding operational efficiencies. Private citizens do this every day in their homes. Local government should do the same. Raising taxes now risks losing public trust. The citizens of Creedmoor have already absorbed the things I mentioned before. If this board raises taxes again without first exhausting spending reductions, many residents will conclude government spending simply expands to consume whatever revenue becomes available, and taxpayers will feel they're expected to continue to compensate for budget growth. That is not sustainable governance. I believe we can produce a balanced budget without increasing the ad valorem tax beyond the 52 cents. Doing so will require discipline, it will require prioritization, and it will require difficult decisions. But that is exactly why we were elected. Our responsibility is not simply to fund every request placed before us. Our responsibility is to protect the financial stability of our town while also protecting the taxpayers who fund it. At this moment, Creedmoor residents deserve restraint, not another tax increase. Before we ask the citizens of Creedmoor to sacrifice more, this government must first demonstrate that it has done everything possible to sacrifice within its own budget. Today's conditions require a different kind of leadership, one focused on fiscal discipline without defaulting to higher taxes. Our duty is to protect both the financial stability of the city and the financial well-being of the people who call it home. A balanced budget that avoids additional tax increases isn't just good policy, it's the right thing for us to do, each of us as commissioners and public servants. So I would ask, if you have a budget shortfall, find a way to balance the budget. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Any more discussion? Commissioner Kozinski?
So last year, when we had our budget meeting, I made a suggestion of 7 cuts to the budget at that time, and nobody on the board agreed with me, and none of the cuts that I suggested that would have saved over $250,000 were approved. In this last year, as of April 21st, 2026, this board has approved $4.052 million of budget amendments. So we approve a budget. We don't want a tax increase. I got that. Nobody wants it. But in the middle of the year, we just budget amendment, budget amendment, budget amendment. And some of these ideas were absolutely necessary, and some of them were not. The police department building is $5.5 million, and the $252,000 is just the payment on $3 million of that. Is that right, Lee? 3.5?
It's on 2.7.
Okay. I have voted against some of the budget amendments in the last year, but they went through, and I think everybody knows how much I hate budget amendments. It feels like we've failed. I think that if we're going to do what the Mayor Pro Tem says, I think we, as commissioners, need to look through this budget and find what we can and talk to the city manager, because the city manager and the staff have done a yeoman's job of cutting this budget down so far. But if we don't accept this, then we need to be the ones to say, how about this? How about that? How about this? How about that? Can we do it? What can we do? Short of closing a department of city services, I'm amazed that we have to come up with this amount of money after we did a 10-cent tax increase. I did not expect this again this year, but costs are gone up. We haven't even started looking at furnitures and fixtures for the police department yet. There's another expense that's not in this budget that will be coming to us throughout the year. And I think that last year I got on a soapbox about grants. And asked every department, don't come and ask us for money unless you've applied for a grant before you bring it to us. So I think that it would only be fair if we don't agree what the manager and the staff have come up with, that we as commissioners go through this budget, whether it's a line item version of it, and say, well, can we cut this? What about this? What about that? The renovation to City Hall is covered with a $250,000 grant that we got from the state legislature, so we don't have to worry about that. But like I said, we still haven't done furniture and fixtures for the police department yet, and I don't know where else to cut. unless we start shutting down departments. And that would be a terrible thing to do to the citizens who paid the 10-cent tax increase last year, to say, thanks for your money, but now we're going to start cutting your services. And I don't want to do that either. I don't know the answer, Commissioner Wilkins, Mayor Pro Tem Wilkins, but I agree with you in spirit. It's just, we approved $4 million worth of budget amendments. That's not wise spending.
All right. Commissioner Moss?
I think Commissioner Gleason.
Commissioner Gleason?
I watched this board cut taxes year after year during election year. They lowered the tax rate, spent general fund, reserve fund money, and spent it on stuff that was gonna have to be paid again next year. So if you have something that's not growing and you're spending it, sooner or later you're gonna run out of money. Nobody wants to raise taxes. Your example of homeowners is exactly, owning a home is exactly like running a city. You own a home, your wealth didn't grow or your wages didn't go up, but the damn heat pump went. And you gotta spend the money on the heat pump from somewhere. We have a volunteer fire department in this city that without, you couldn't afford the taxes on your house. The volunteer fire department provides a service that we basically don't pay for. So here's a suggestion, how we can save money with our budget. We join the fire district, Granville County Fire District. As soon as we do that, do you know what happens to your taxes? They go up 6 cents. Exactly what the city is saying now that we need to do to balance our budget and not spend all the capital reserve. The bottom line, though, is if we join the fire district, they're going to collect 6 cents from you, and they're going to give 2 cents to Sam, 1 cent to Butner. We're not going to get all the money back. We'll get half if we're lucky. If we're lucky, we'll get half. So what the board decided to do, and again, I can blame myself on it, we decided to give the fire department 6%. But we never collected it. We took it from the budget and gave the fire department 6 cents. Like I said, we could join the fire district, the county collects the 6 cents, we don't get the money. But now we have a fire department, a volunteer fire department that needs to upgrade its headquarters, that needs apparatus and equipment that I can certainly vouch for their need. They're not necessarily going to put one over on me. So the bottom line is, all I'm suggesting is, and believe me, I pay tax too. And again, I'm not going to talk about my income, but the bottom line is, we're in a position now where the fire department deserves its 6 cents, and we deserve to be able to use that 6 cents, just like the county budget. The budget spends all its money, and it just uses that 6 cents for the fire department. So, we're doing something that we should have done 3 years ago, and didn't, and now we're paying the price. And again, I can repeat it, we just can't keep spending money from the cookie jar on stuff that's going to be again due next month, and the cookie jar getting nothing put back in it. So I agree with everything you say about, I don't want to raise taxes 1 nickel, 1 penny. But the bottom line is, in order to keep the city as it is, to be able to keep the services that we have, and we're not overserved by anything. There's nothing in this city that I could say,
we're being used and we don't need this, we don't need that. We have a Department of Public Works that would put cities 2 or 3 times the size of this to shame. So the bottom line is nobody here, and there's, again, I don't want to get into saying what I would give up because I don't want to ask anybody else to give up stuff. But the bottom line is there's very little that we could do personally, other than I just want the community to know I'm not for raising taxes, but I'm also understand that we have a community center, that we have a Lake Rogers, that we have a police department, a fire department, a DPW, a wonderful city manager who, thank God for our city manager and the staff. His staff is remarkable. So the bottom line is when we're talking about not 3% raises, 2% raises, again, they are taking a hit. So I just want to reiterate that I'm not for raising taxes, but if we look at that 6 cents for the fire service, we're not getting more money because we're paying for the volunteer fire department. We're doing what the county is doing, and I think that's fair. And we will talk more about this, I'm sure.
Commissioner Moss?
Thank you, sir. So, Mike, I just want to make a couple of observations, and I don't want to raise taxes either. That's not the impetus for my questions. I don't think, unless somebody can correct me, that the state of North Carolina has actually passed its budget yet. I know there's talk of it, of a budget deal, but it's not done yet. So that's something to think about. Has the county passed its budget yet? I probably should know the answer, but I don't.
I don't think so.
Okay. Does anybody have any idea what their proposed tax rate is going to look like?
From my talking to them, Butler tried to do one, but, the Jordan Dillon, the county manager, himself proposed one. I don't think they would agree to it at that moment. But all, municipalities in the county are to go forward and present their budgets at the next meeting in June.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably you will hear what's going to be proposed, what's going to go through.
Okay.
So the other county has adopted it. I haven't heard anything from the county.
Okay. Yeah, the reason I asked that question is because whatever we do is going to be on top of our county taxes. We're not like county residents. We pay county and city. I know I'm preaching to the choir. So that's, we don't know.
They haven't.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't think so. Just wanted to make sure. I could have missed it. But just a couple of other observations, and Ed kind of gave me a good thought. Mr. Manager, I'm looking back at your chart where it breaks down the percentages of where we spend our money. And I think that's a very important chart because I think part of our challenge, and Ed kind of talked about it in the fire protection piece, is to be able to articulate to our citizens how we're spending their money. And again, not to make it about me, but I'm willing to pay for things that I know are of value to me. And I think that is part of the conversation that we may want to consider with our budget this year. Commissioner Kaczynski talked about the roughly $4 million in change orders or budget amendments. Thank you. And I've not been here for all of them, but I think I can say in good conscience the ones that I have been here for, they were not frivolous issues. We weren't doing them just to be doing them. They were things that needed to be done. So, you know, and that's why it goes back to this chart. I think, you know, obviously we can go back and look, but unless you tell me I'm wrong, this chart pretty much represents kind of a bare bones approach. There is nothing fancy in it by any stretch. And just think about it. We took the police department out, we'd be great. Chief, that was a joke for you. Get them out of the equation. But no, seriously, there's nothing fancy here. Nothing. Ed talked about the fire department. That's not an option. No, that's something that we have to do, and I agree with him 100%. I didn't at first, but I've listened and I've learned. I think he's exactly right. We could join the county fire tax rate setup, but that's like us giving our money away. That's what that means. So I don't know what the answer is right at this second, but I do hope that we can go back. Maybe we won't cut 6, but it's like the agenda item earlier in the evening. We didn't give a year's extension, but we gave 6 months. Maybe that's something we can take a look at to see how we can sharpen the pencil and get us a little bit closer to where we need to be. I'm just trying to be reasonable. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Oh, I did have one question. And again, it goes back being able to explain what we do with their money. So, for example, we have $153,000, I think I saw that in the budget, for the stormwater. But we're not doing any stormwater projects this year. And I may have misheard that.
Currently, there is the one project that's currently going on. In Whitehall.
Okay.
That is a continuous project where in the next fiscal year, there's a new decision, the construction will get done. But within that 150, there are things that we have to pay, such as the services to the county for their collection of our valuable fees to grab tellers, membership fees. There are funds budgeted in there for miscellaneous stormwater and social work throughout the month. So those are prospective flows with all the time in that for stormwater as well. So there are things that we have to pay for, and we also got budgeted to be able to complete some smaller projects that may come up. So there is that one project that's currently going on.
Okay, yeah. I just think it's a little bit easier to sell it if we are able to show citizens what they're actually getting. That just seems to make sense to me. And then my last question, on the street fund, how much money, and I missed it, I'm sure, how much do we have in our street fund? Yeah. Where we would, say, pave a local street or something like that? Power bill.
You're talking about the total fund balance. That's maximum of that we over $700,000. But we get 2 allocations a year. We have to spend that allocation each year to stay under the state guideline as far as how much we can have on hand. Being that our population change over 5,000, we can now only accumulate up to the sum of 10, the past 10 allocations. So we have to spend to be within those guidelines. So I asked city engineer stated earlier, there are projects not going to come. First, we're going to get the engineering study again next year. You're probably going to see a big portion of that once the construction is actually getting done. And also sidewalks. I know that is a big topic in conversation for which areas we want to focus on first. So that is how they're eligible. So once those come up and you want to decide which one to prioritize, that's how we'll move on.
Okay, thank you, Lee.
I have one question.
Commissioner Gleason.
Council money and stormwater funds are not in this budget at all.
They are there, absolutely. They have their separate funds. Stormwater being on the enterprise fund where the funds earned and collected on that must support those activities. They're not general fund supporting it all.
Right.
Anything as well, it's probably not enterprise fund, but it's for us, like enterprise fund, because it is supporting supported by the allocation that we receive from the state. So we are able to use supplemental general fund dollars if needed. Kind of put it in perspective of the, as the city manager talked about, the municipal tax dollars. Those dollars will be needed to be used towards city on street roads or things that are eligible for those.
The stormwater funds, they come out of the falls rate money that we collect from every homeowner.
Stormwater. Yeah, stormwater fund is collected by the fees that we, set.
You know, like I say, $200 and some a year.
Yeah, collected by the county.
That goes
So, Mr. Gleason, that's the general fund on the top number, and the bottom includes pile and stormwater total.
Not a lot of money.
Commissioner Moss?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Am I jumping ahead of you?
you are. Can, just one little
Go
section.
ahead.
So to agree with you about explaining it and understanding it, helping the citizens understand it, and to touch on everybody's thoughts here. Commissioner Wilkins, you're the second most senior person on this board, I think. But anyway, when we decided to not join the county and give the citizens the 6 cents because we wanted it to stay here and help our fire department, because it does get spread through 14 different fire departments, and the citizens of Creedmoor, 6 cents that they pay the county is not all coming to Creedmoor. We did that, and we were at a tax rate of 52 cents. So we took 6 cents out of that 52 cents. And we should have recouped that 6 cents then, but we didn't. So we've been trying to run the city on 46 cents. And then the reval came. So we came up a little bit higher. And you can see from the numbers that are here, we don't even collect enough tax money from property taxes to fund the police department. So we're running the rest of the city off of sales taxes and other sources of revenue and drawing out of the fund balance. So, like we all said, we would have to pay the increase in tax too if taxes went up. But to provide the services that we do without cutting, and as Commissioner Moss said, we're not living on easy street with the, I mean, we are bare bones on our services, and that's deliberate so that we don't have to raise taxes. But we can't keep, as Mayor Pro Tem said, we can't keep drawing from the general fund every single year, because that's not gonna keep filling back up. Sooner or later, it's gonna run out. Yeah. So as much as this is the hardest conversation that I ever have once a year, the hardest conversation I ever have. The county, as of this morning, when I spoke to a county commissioners, they haven't done their budget yet, just so you know. STEM hasn't done theirs. Butler's not done, like Lee said. So I don't want to be a trendsetter here.
Can I add one thing just to piggyback on? To go back to the fire department, at the time when the city agreed to the agreement and give the fire department 6 cents, at the time the tax rate was 61.5 cents. If we would have did what the county did and added 6 cents, we should have added that 6 cents and made it 67.5 cents.
But you can't by law do that. You couldn't by law do that, am I correct?
You can. The city set the tax rate. And it's set through the budget ordinance and the adoption of the budget. So we provide additional services.
I'll get back to you.
And I'll do some more research on that.
Yeah, please.
But because we gave them that 6 cents, and after talking to the previous, when I came on and through the transition, talked to the previous finance director, she was giving me a little bit more insight on city finances, and I believe she had conversations with the board at the time as well, that at that time, we should start paying more property value went up. If we decrease it, went up above, just a little bit above the revenue neutral tax rate. We still have to be kind of operating behind because we didn't do really what the county did when they did the fire districts. We kind of worked with that different after giving the fire department their allocation that you all stated was recommended to support the needs of the city. And we had a conversation with them, regarding their building, that they're gonna have some discussions on how to more proceed with this, but just want to get that.
I would like to thank you all, each one of you, for your comments, your suggestions. If we look back from 2017 to 2024, 8-year period, taxes stayed at 61.5% every year. It was not until 2025 that we dropped them 20 cents, dropped the tax rate from 61 to 42, and then increased it, got 10% back last year for 52 cents, but this is 6%. And yes, we can drive this even lower. So that's 16 of the 20 that we cut. You know, we go through this and we think outside the box. We get ideas from department heads. You know, we funded one police vacancy, half, 50%. We can cut the other half out and take the officer out. We can cut the 2% COLA. So some of these things are gonna hurt more than others, and some of those things may cause you to lose staff. It's just, I don't know. Classification comp study, once every 5 years, is 17.5. We could cut the other agency donations that we've supported for so many years, another $5,000. It's gonna hurt them. We could cut the pre-meals out here, the iPad cellular service for the board out, city newsletter that only goes out twice a year now is $3,700, but that's the only thing that's in the clerk's budget that you can give up, is that newsletter. And it is the only piece of communication that we have to get to every household. They don't follow us, they don't have newspapers, that is the only piece that we can reach out twice a year and touch them. You could stop the fireworks that we do every year with Butler. We could freeze every vacancy that we get. When somebody goes out, we freeze it unless it's essential services. These are things outside of the box. Last resort would be a dual RIF, a reduction in force with existing staff. We don't have that many staff in each department, but you figure you take one from each department, it's really gonna hurt services. You know, it's like the last in, the first out. I mean, there's different approaches to performance, there's different ways. But that's the very last resort I would certainly not want to do. But again, thank you for your comments, your ideas, suggestions. We'll go back at it. We'll see what else we can do and bring it back.
Yeah, sir. Mike, I'm just, and I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, I jumped ahead. I'm sorry. Okay? Go ahead. All right. So I'm a little different. I'm not certain that I want to get into the line item details of cut this, cut that, do this, do that. I'm not sure I want to do that, because I believe genuinely that you and your team are giving us the God's honest truth about where we are. You know what we need day in, day out. And so I think what I'm asking, and I'm not speaking for anybody other than me, I know Commissioner or Mayor Pro Tem Wilkins has said he doesn't support 6 cents, but maybe somewhere in there we've got maybe just a slight piece of wiggle room, as I like to call it, somewhere in there. But again, I'm not interested in cutting stuff just for the sake of cutting. I don't think that makes sense. So I'll leave it at that for now.
You know, the goal was trying to not hit fund balance so hard because we keep doing that. And that is the only fallback. That is the only savings that we have, that we don't want to keep whittling it down until we start to get taxes returned and these revenues from Brames Crossing and these other developments when they finish the I-95 corridor. So that's why we don't want to keep digging into that too far. So anyway, any other suggestions or comments? Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, City Manager. Thank you, Finance Director. All right.
That's the only thing we have for the board tonight, but we don't have some other business to discuss.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, send a motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
That's right.
Motion carries.
Didn't we pass a policy that said we were going back to using a second?
Not yet, not yet. I didn't think
I
we had
thought
done
we
it
did.
yet. Oh, maybe not. Yeah, I was waiting, I think we were waiting on Devin.
Barbara would know. The policy to go back to making seconds. I can't remember. I thought we did, but. I go home and see if my wife will give me a 6% increase in my compensation package. In your allowance. Maybe I can get $600. She was backing up the other day before we go to New York. She wanted to back the car in the garage. She hit the damn mailbox. Probably put a dent about that big in the back of the car, which will cost about $3,000 to fix. $600 to get a guy to come and put a new mailbox.
Put the mailbox in.
A new post, new mailbox.
That's insanity, man.
Sounds the same to me, but.
All the same, I only answer a little money a month. I don't need a lot. I just need Lowe's money and golf money. I get that, I'm golden. I am absolutely golden.
What's up? Yeah, good. I want that break. I like that.